Hi there. Raila Amolo Odinga is making William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua to shake. Yes, guys. William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua are concerned to some extent with the happenings in the economy. And this so because as a country, we are, and in fact, we have been in a precarious state over the past few months. And that's so because the micro factors which actually impact the economy haven't been working for our country as they should. For example, the public debt. We have all seen the public debt continue soaring and soaring over the months. Right now, we're talking about the public debt is gonna easily reach and even cross the 10 trillion mark in the near future. And of course, when the government of Dr. William Samoei Ruto was taking office, they had a pledge that they'll go slow on debt, but this hasn't been possible. Beyond that, we've also seen the dire effect of climate change, whereby as a country, we have experienced a dire drought, which has really made the government to dip further into their pocket to get money to assist with socio-economic programs and also food support to those affected communities. Beyond that, we have seen a challenge around employment. And guys, also the Kenya shilling has really been depreciating against the dollars to the extent that we've actually seen the central bank try to intervene in the past few weeks. All these micro factors compounded with other macro factors like, for example, the effects of COVID-19. Talk about the war in Ukraine, fitting Russia and Ukraine has also had a dire consequence on the economy of Kenya, more so given Kenya relies on import for them to make a good segment of the economy to work. All these guys, together with the issues the government of Dr. William Ruto inherited from the previous government, has actually meant that we are in a precarious situation as a country. Now, that has actually also meant that the government of Dr. William Samoei Ruto has had to think a lot how to go about governing, rectifying these issues, assisting the country to recover, and also simultaneously thinking about how to make people of Kenya content or happy. And with that, what has been the ideal option? Of course, any government which had taken office under such kind of conditions could have targeted, first of all, to fix the mess by trapping the running away public debt, by thinking about how they're going to create jobs for people in Kenya, by thinking about how they're going to deal with sporadic issues around food shortage, around people's health, and so forth. And secondly, to think about how they're going to start rebuilding. And sadly, to rebuild such an economy is going to mean that someone needs to have a long-term view. And guys, that is where Raila Odinga knows very well that's going to hit Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua very hard. And I'm saying so because dire times know no patience. At the end of the day, guys, people want immediate intervention. People want jobs. People want better economy to do business. People want their hunger solved and so forth. Of course, the government of Dr. William Samoei Ruto hasn't been able to do this 7 months in, even though they had created expectation that they'll be able to solve a good number of these challenges in just 100 days, which hasn't been possible, and even it couldn't be possible with any other government out there. Given there are times no patience, and in fact, matters need to be solved as soon as possible. It is against that premise that Raila Odinga has taken it upon himself and also called upon the citizens of Kenya to make their voices loud for the government to hear them, to know they are there, and to know that Kenya as a country is at a tipping point. And by the way, this is what actually has gotten people like William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua, and others close to them very irritated, because they know that Raila Odinga understands how government works. They are in this situation, and in fact, had Raila been in that situation too, he could have taken time to support the government, support the country with recovering, and yet he wants the impact to be dire. Raila knows how the government works, and also he understands how people communicate with government, whether it is through diplomacy or even through mass action, you name it, given he has been able to call the people of Kenya on multiple occasions to go to the streets to protest in different capacities. You know, he has called for demonstrations Mondays, Thursdays, and of course, he gives direction to his people each and every week. And of course, at the center of it is the argument of economy. In essence, the economic conditions in the country have gotten dire. Businesses are finding it hard to continue thriving. People are finding it hard to have food on their plate. Parents out there are finding it hard to pay school fees for their children. You name it. And secondly is also to settle the political score he has with William Ruto. Of course, we also how the recent general election went. William Samoei Ruto was declared the winner, and even so, the Supreme Court upheld his win, which actually didn't augur well with the Azimio camp. So it is also an opportunity for Raila Odinga to settle political scores he has with the current administration, and doing so by actually utilizing the same mechanism. This protest by wananchi around the economy and the dire situation people are going through is also being utilized to see how Raila Odinga can settle his political scores with William Ruto. And guys, that is also another thing which is irritating or is actually making William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua very, very mad and shaken. Raila has Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua shaking because they know that from the face of it, they are dealing with economic matters, economic argument. But beyond that, it is deeper because they are dealing with a political situation in a case whereby the person they are dealing with has an upper political hand when it comes to the streets. They know how to maneuver. They know how to get people out there to go to the streets and foster an agenda they say they need fostered. And that is a big problem for the government. Of course, the positive thing out of this is that the government is hearing. The government has heard. And in fact, the government is going to continue hearing the cry of the citizens. And also beyond that, the international community is hearing what's going on in Kenya. And of course, there's going to be intervention both at the country level and also pressure from the international community. But beyond that, guys, we are also seeing negative things happening in our beloved country. Number one, we are seeing businesses out there getting looted each and every week, which is quite unfortunate. And in fact, even we saw from last week's protest whereby people were getting mugged in broad daylight, which is very unfortunate. So we have people going to the streets to protest, rightfully so, as provided by the Constitution. But also, this is a conduit of economic crimes. Because how can you explain, for example, someone establishing their business upwards of 2 million Kenya shillings, seeing their business they have worked very hard for go down the drain in just a few minutes? That is economic crime, which shouldn't be happening in our country. So I think the way forward is, if people are going to protest, let them protest peacefully. But we shouldn't be having a situation whereby people's business out there are getting looted. What do you think? I know this is a crazy situation which has got government thinking a lot, but we need to have a solution. Thanks a lot for watching.